Welcome to Greenhouse Grower to Grower, the podcast where we talk to growers from across the greenhouse industry about market trends, innovation, their biggest challenges and opportunities, and more. I'm Brian Sparks, editor of Greenhouse Grower. Greenhouse Grower's July cover story features a closer look at how university horticulture departments from across the country are attracting new blood to the industry while fostering career development. I had the chance to talk to 6 department heads about a wide range of topics, and the conversations were so informative that there was no way for me to include all of their input in one article. So we're using this podcast as a way to offer extended versions of these conversations. In this episode, you'll first hear from Dr. Justin Moss, department head and professor at Oklahoma State University's Department of Horticulture and Landscape Architecture. Following that, I talked to Dr. Neil Anderson, professor and interim head of the Department of Horticultural Science at the University of Minnesota. Let's hear first from Dr. Moss.
Yeah, so for Oklahoma State, for the past 7 years or so, we've seen a slight increase in enrollment. So our program at Oklahoma State has 2 degrees. So we are Department of Horticulture and Landscape Architecture.
Okay.
And so I'll just focus on the horticulture side of that. So about 2016, probably 2015 or so. We probably had around 75 students. And then over the next 5 years, it went down to maybe from 75 to closer to like 50.
Okay.
But then in these past roughly 4 years, now we're back up to approaching 90.
Okay.
And so the reasons for that, I can't say exactly why.
Sure.
There seemed to be, a decline in overall enrollment, during that 2015, 2020, 2021 time across the nation for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as what has increased our enrollment over the past 4 years, I'm not sure, but after, I guess, during that COVID semester, our enrollment stayed pretty steady. And then, after that, has continued to rise a little bit, which has been a great thing. And, whether that was just people not being as opposed to working outside. I think the COVID period, I don't know about the students, but for people in general,
mm-hmm.
certainly got them back, kind of back to nature, back to plants, and back to the outdoors. That's for sure.
Sure.
And that's kind of seems to have kind of stuck around. There's been some longevity to that, even though that's been a few years ago now. So I think that's maybe part of it. And the other part is we've tried to, make changes the best way that we can here, like at Oklahoma State in our curriculum. And so we try to make it easier for students to navigate through their, you have to go through 120 credit hours to get the horticultural degree. So we try to make that as straightforward as possible. We try to include connections with professionals in industry kind of scattered throughout that 120 hours. And, we require an outside internship as part of the degree program. So that connects the students with the industry that they're interested in. Mm-hmm. And so I think all those things are important. And right now, anyway, when we get to the end of the semester, students are graduating. They're all, everyone that wants a job has a job, and usually they have multiple job offers.
Sure.
And so that's been a good thing. So right now, anyway, and for the past few years, we've had more jobs available for students than we've had students graduating from the program. Mm-hmm. And so for the students coming through right now, that's good for them. For the industry, maybe not so good because they're still trying to fill these positions and we're not producing enough students, I guess. But if you're a student coming through right now, you can be in pretty good shape to have kind of multiple offers to look at, especially if you're willing to move out. For us, Oklahoma State, if you're willing to move out of Oklahoma, for sure, there's lots of opportunities. A lot of our students do like to stick around the region, whether that's Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas type area. But for those that are willing to go out, I mean, there are tons of jobs opportunities available. And then we've had a lot of industry support. I think this has helped too, through scholarships. And so So I think that's enticed a lot of students to go into the industry, into the field too, because there are, at least for us, we have been blessed with a lot of scholarship support for the
Sure.
program. So if a student comes in and tries, then um, we can't guarantee them a scholarship, but certainly if they're doing what they're supposed to do, there's a very, very high probability that they're going to get some good scholarships throughout their 4-year career.
Okay. One of the things that we've started to look at too is, for folks that are coming out of universities with horticulture degrees, if you talk to whether it's bigger growers in the industry or even organizations like Seed Your Future, that they talk about, there are positions available in these markets where you don't have to actually work with plants. These companies have
Sure.
openings in marketing, HR, transportation, logistics, whatever. Is that something that you guys work on with your graduates and talk about, the fact that there's so many opportunities that don't necessarily have to involve plants?
Yeah. So for us, we've there's been I think some students from our college that have done exactly that. So they may be majors in the Department of Agricultural Economics, studying ag business or something like that,
Hmm.
but they ended up going to a horticultural program or a horticultural job, or sometimes in education. We get a lot that go into like the teaching, more the teaching side, or extension type or outreach type jobs that are out there.
Sure.
And then there's a degree program here called Ag Leadership, which is kind of just an overall nice ag degree. And a lot of those students are getting some good offers and good positions too. But for the horticulture specifically, we do focus on the plant side for sure, but we have these different options. So like if a student comes in and they want to do more of a business type experience, but they love horticulture, so we can get them through on a horticultural business degree
Okay.
program. So it's a hort business degree, and so they don't have to minor in management or business or something like that. It's already built into the
Hmm.
to the program, and that's been really nice. And so and again, here at Oklahoma State, we have what's called the Spears School of Business here, and so basically they get a nice overview of obviously horticultural type classes and everything that they go through, but also through the Spears School of Business, they get all of those types of classes too, and put that together, and they get a nice degree when they come through here.
Okay.
So I think things like that I think have been really beneficial. And then of course there's always the ability to minor in just about anything, but
Hmm.
very rarely, but some students will even do 2 degrees, a dual degree
Okay.
program, like in business and horticulture, something like that too.
Okay.
But where I think there's a lot of opportunity that we haven't taken advantage of is probably more so trying to have folks that know a little bit about horticulture, but also know about maybe engineering and automation and AI, and how to be more efficient, how we use our labor in the industry and things like that. That's probably an area that we need to build upon and work on. And we don't have specific courses or classes or pathways for that right now, that I think we need to really look at hard over this next academic year.
Okay. Okay. That's good to know. Yeah. It's like one thing we haven't really talked about is, what the universities themselves can do to improve opportunities for students. I think that's something that I'll definitely want to touch on in the article that I put together. So I appreciate
Yeah.
your insight there. Want to talk about the panel itself at Cultivate, and we'll be promoting that as much as we can to our audience. But coming into it as a panelist, what are some of the goals that you have, or what are you hoping to accomplish through that discussion?
Yeah, for me, it's just exciting to connect academia and industry. And so anytime we can do that, that's good for us at the university side, but it's good. I think it's good to let them know that, we have students here that are um, eager to learn. They're ready to work. And so to let folks know that, hey, our students would love to come do an internship with you or whatever it may be, but we've got to get that timed out and worked out right. And so a lot of times I don't know how to best advertise this, but a lot of our students will have already connected with something that they're interested in, and maybe looked at an internship opportunity, but then in February, March, April, May, I get companies sending me things, say, hey, we've got all these opportunities for students. And I say, well, I'll share it. But, honestly, all of our students have already got kind of things lined out, and they've already secured something for the summer. And so
Yeah.
I got to figure out the timing on this thing somehow. And it's hard to do, right? Because every company's different, every industry's different, every student's different.
Yeah.
But we just get, I think it's, again, great for our students. We get way more opportunities than there are students. But on the flip side of that, I wish we could help fill all these opportunities, and we just don't have enough students to do it right now. And so if there's a way to better advertise this and get more students interested to know, hey, you could go work, and like in that beautiful picture behind you on the screen there, hey, you can go work in an environment like that and get all this experience and get introduced to everything in the industry, not just being in the greenhouse, but doing an internship to get exposed to the management and the day-to-day operations and everything. I mean, what an opportunity. And so if there's a way we can better connect our students and our professors, our faculty with the industry, that's what I want to do for
Okay.
sure. That's what we need to do. Yeah.
Okay. Last question I have for you is, one of the things that we really tried to focus on this year is, the future and really the exciting future of this industry. So can you maybe mention, what you're most excited about when it comes to the future of the horticulture industry?
Yeah. I just think that there's so much opportunity, and it seems like, business is pretty good right now. And so I think there's not many opportunities for, students to come through, get a degree and get to do what they love. And that's what I love about horticulture is you learn the science, you learn the plant care, you learn the management, you learn the business side, you learn all those things, but you get to have fun working every day. And so it's, if you can find a career where, what you enjoy what you do every day, and it's not really a job, it's kind of fun to do what you get to do every day. To me, that's a pretty big win. That's a pretty big win for life. And like, to me, horticulture is a degree where you can do that, and you can really make that happen. And, a lot of folks we get students that will maybe start out in a traditional business environment or management environment or what have you, and then figure out, hey, I love it, but I just can't be in the office all day, every day.
Yeah.
And so again, and so having, the beautiful scenery again, like you have in your background there, when that's your office or, and that's pretty hard to beat, really. And so if we can get that to more students and get them more interested, that's what I'm excited about for the future. There's so much opportunities, and you can grow and get to love what you do and have fun every day.
Now enjoy my conversation with Dr. Neil Anderson.
There's certainly continued interest in horticulture and related fields that have to do with production and food in particular. And that takes on a wide variety of dimensions, from those interested in sustainable organic production, those just interested in conventional production in various environments. It might be in the field, it might be in low tunnels or high tunnels or controlled environment, very controlled environments like greenhouses. And we see the trends of interest that come along. I mean, there's still undeniably a strong interest in potted plants, interior scaping materials. Students are really interested in hydroponics and hydroponic vegetables and leafy greens and herbs. And of course, there's a strong segment that are interested in small, sustainable farming and all that entails across the distribution chain. Probably the biggest one that's coming along is cannabis, hemp related production.
Okay.
At least in our majors, we have two majors here. Actually, we don't have a horticulture major, a plant science major, and a sustainable ag and food systems major. And for sure, in the plant science major, which is the biggest one here, we have our student numbers have always been strong, and they continue to increase as more students become interested in production. So for us, it's really strong, I would say.
Again, one of the things I want to try and really focus in on the story as well is, once you have enrollment and education taking place, there's that next step of, encouraging those students to then stay in the industry once they graduate. So can you talk about what are some of the programs that you have in place to kind of help foster that development?
Well, everyone has to do an internship. That's required.
Okay.
And, we, like within floriculture or nursery or vegetable, fruit production, et cetera, we would try to place them in obviously an internship somewhere in the country or around the world that would be in their specific tract of interest. And
Okay.
so, it might be through the ball scholarships, American Floral Endowment ones, so that, they could get practical hands-on experience that
Sure.
will benefit them. And so that's one thing. And then oftentimes those companies would then hire them on as permanent employees once they graduate. And so it's an instant sort of shoe in. So
Okay.
that's one aspect.
Okay.
Other aspects, other programs that we have. So we have an undergraduate research opportunity program grant. So students that are interested in studying something, whatever it might be, it doesn't matter. It could be post-harvest, it could be production, it could be breeding and genetics, any number of things. They could write a small grant with a faculty mentor that would last for a semester, and they'd get grant money for it.
Okay.
And just to get a feel like, oh, this is what it's like to do a little experiment on my own and
Yeah.
get paid for it. It's on a grant. I get paid for it. So that oftentimes kindles a lot of interest in research, and they'll end up doing research in the industry or going on to an academic position, or, with a subsequent degree program. So that gets them excited. We obviously have clubs that students get active in that keeps them just kind of working together and learning things together, kind of
Sure.
more practical applied sorts of things.
Okay.
A lot of classes have strong interactions with the industry. So industry might come in and judge final posters, like they do that in one of the woody plant ID courses that we have. People might come in and judge students' performance, like in production, like in a bedding plant class.
Okay.
And oftentimes they might get hired on the spot if they're really good.
Hmm.
Be like, I want to hire you.
Yeah.
Come grow for me, or whatever. And then of course, faculty, we have a mentorship program. So that's with people in the industry that mentor a student or two, just to show them, hey, what's it like to be a salesperson 24/7? What do we do? So
Sure.
work with me for a few weeks just to see what it's like on making sales calls and those kinds of things. So I mean, we have all those interactive options. Another option we've started lately that has more to do with social media is Green Collar Scholars.
Okay.
And so those are students enrolled in our horticulture courses each semester that then post right up, take little video shots or shots on something that they're learning, say in plant propagation or whatever
Yeah.
it might be, and then it gets posted on social media through all of our outlets, so that not only students could be interested in it, but it also is a good thing for future employers to say like, oh, I see that, you did this on social media to enhance your learning and so forth.
Yeah.
So those are all things that we do actively to make sure that the industry is involved and that they see how working with the industry, and sometimes even conduct experiments that we might get in courses for the industry to answer
Sure.
questions, So like we did that a few years ago with Bailey Nurseries when they came out with endless summer hydrangea. Wanted to know if we could force it as a florist hydrangea. And so, we grew up blue ones and pink ones and whatever and evaluated them and then published it. And, that it was that kind of, oh, I'm doing real stuff that really gets them excited.
Sure.
And so it's for us, it's always that dual working relationships that we have with the industry of like, how can we tailor students to, to become interested in working in your companies? And then also what can you do to help, kind of engender interest in what it is that you do?
Yeah. Well, and when you talk along those lines, and I know you mentioned sales, you mentioned social media. So that's one of the things that we also want to kind of touch on in here is, we talk to, growers who are hiring new employees, younger people. And then you
Right,
also have groups like Seed Your Future who are trying to, build career paths. And one
right,
of the things that a lot of them talk about is, you can bring somebody into part of your company that grows plants, but that they might not have to work with or frankly even see sometimes plants at all, that there's so many positions in this industry that
right.
while the end result of that company is going to be a plant, whether it's human resources, whether it's marketing, whether it's sales, as you mentioned, that there are various pathways, career pathways that don't necessarily have to involve actually growing the plants. Is that something that you try and focus on? I know it sounds like with the social media and sales examples might be something.
And we have a class in horticultural marketing, and
Okay.
so students do a lot of work with hort marketing and research that's going on here. Because we've had students leave here and then go, like, for instance, one student a few years ago of mine went off to Wagner's greenhouses.
Hmm.
All they did was do scheduling.
Okay.
They loved scheduling, and
Yeah.
so got excited about it. It was like, and that's all they did was spreadsheets all year round, and they were just fine with it. So we always try to encourage them to move into some area that really is something that they excel at, because we want them to be happy,
Sure.
um, and be productive that way. So yes, I mean, we always try to tailor it as best as we can for individual student competencies that direct them into their profession.
Sure. Sure. Um, so I want to then talk about the actual panel at Cultivate. And if you can talk
Right.
about, what some of your goals are going into that and what you hope to see come out of that discussion.
Well, so I mean, one of the issues that always comes forward is adequate pay in the industry.
Mhm.
And so that's always one issue, that people always kind of joke about it, of like, oh, we'll go, my kid went into engineering instead of horticulture because they'll earn more money or whatever. Um, and I think that there needs to be continued working in the industry to continue raising those rates so that it becomes a good attractant, better than
Okay.
it even is now.
Sure.
And of course, one of the things that we always mention to students is, maybe you want to, if you didn't inherit a business, obviously if you inherit a business, then that's kind of easy. But there's lots of them for sale out there,
Hmm.
because people are retiring and they don't have anyone to take it over. And so here's an entire business sitting there waiting.
Yeah.
Um, so a lot of those that are, that oftentimes do have kind of a business minor or something might be like, hey, maybe I'll venture in and I'll purchase a business. And then that way I'll at least over time be able to, get a much better salary than I might have gotten being a grower and moving up or something like
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that topic because, one of the things that we do at Greenhouse Growers is we put together a top 100 list that shows the
that.
largest growers in the country. So,
Right.
going
Mhm.
into this year, we saw a lot of expansion in the industry, as people were monitoring consumer trends and this growing interest in plants. But then
Right.
we were also seeing some cases of long-standing companies going out of business because, as you said, there wasn't the next step in succession for that company. So the fact that,
Right.
that could be part of this discussion here, I mean, to me is critical because, that's one of the number one factors that we hear about is we just don't have somebody to take it over. And so what happens at that point?
Yeah, I'd say that's one of the big burning issues that we have going on in the industry, and it's been going on for a while, and it's still not resolved. And
Yeah.
it's very critical.
Yeah. The last question I have is kind of, there's the challenges facing the industry, but, we've been really focused this year with Greenhouse Grower on the future of the floriculture industry and particularly the exciting future of floriculture. So can you maybe talk about what excites you the most about what you see happening in this industry moving forward?
Well, I think there's lots of innovations that are occurring in floriculture. It's floriculture has kind of moved gradually. I've been in academics for 40 years. And so, I've seen a lot of things move and change, and
Yeah.
it's nothing like it used to be, that's for sure. And it's always adjusting and adapting, and by, having the control environment sector incorporating hemp and cannabis and so forth, really, kind of changed some of our focus. It really wasn't floriculture, but it was,
Right.
the culture was the same though,
Yeah.
even though the product was different. But I think within floriculture itself, there's still lots of excitement. I mean, we have so many private and public sector breeding programs that are coming out with new products all the time that are pushing things in new directions. I mean, if you just think of something like the succulent world,
Mhm.
They were popular in Europe maybe 15, 20 years ago or something like that. Not popular in the US. It was kind of one of those, they were around, and nowadays you look at succulents and it's like, holy smokes, that's gone through the roof. We use it in floral design, we sell them as potted plants and whatever for
Sure.
ridiculous amounts of money. And so it's one of those that there's all these innovations coming along that are going to change the industry tremendously. And we're like, for instance, myself and a faculty member in my department are working on a new compound to use as a floral preservative to replace Oasis foam.
Okay.
That's going to be compostable and doesn't rely on fossil fuels, et cetera. So I think there's all these components of change that are occurring that make the industry, continue to be vibrant and very critical.
Thanks for joining us. You can learn more at greenhousegrower.com. Please subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen, and please leave us a rating as it helps other podcast listeners find the show.